I think by moving here, there are not too many stories, because it's just that you have to decide how many of these stories. We don't have time for you to talk about story. In fact, that's why we have something like what we're doing right now with this show, is to talk about other people's work. Like, I don't have time in the art that I'm making to like make a song about how much I like Star Wars. Like,
right.
You can have these bands that do make music about Boba Fett or something,
right?
Like, and that's cute. But like, we have stories about that we don't even know what the stories are.
Yeah.
An interaction of like going down to dinner tonight can open up a whole world of like questions that we're never going to answer. But it's certainly not like whether the Mandalorian new movie is going to be exciting because it's going to introduce a new kind of Boba Fett to the world. Like, it's not that I hate those things. It's just that like I don't have time to talk about those because the work that we're doing is like I don't know what that woman's...
More to the point is I don't want to I don't want to write dialogue that goes nowhere. That like because that's not my writing style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have characters just babble on about nothing, because that's not the story we're telling. Like, that was appropriate for Clerks because they were not going anywhere.
Right.
But in our story, our characters go somewhere.
You have like, you have to economize the amount of stories because you have a whole bunch of stories that it can't just be a random story of like, I went to the grocery store and wasn't it weird that like there was a weird melon?
Oh yeah,
like that weird melon has to actually play a part in the story. It can't just be like, I discovered a weird melon today.
Right.
I've never eaten a melon like this before. Was it a winter melon? Then maybe you have a story because it's such a weird tasting melon and you could have that be part of the story. But if it's just like, boy, that's a strange shape. Like, oh wow, purple melon, that's fantastic.
Because that's also, like, people don't talk in exposition. So it wouldn't be appropriate to have a character be like, look at this winter melon.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to chop it up.
Wow, it's even stranger.
I've never had this before. It's kind of mild. And like that's, I don't know. That maybe that could go in something.
Actually, they do kind of talk like that when they're doing vlogging videos of like, I'm tasting weird Chinese foods.
Right, which is like part of what's a little bit off-putting about vlogging.
Yeah.
Well, and I think because you and I have talked a lot about like what we are doing,
right?
And to go from making a thing that we called a vlog to this that we're calling a podcast, but actually is a lot of talking about our lives. So it maybe is also the most vlog we've ever done.
Yeah.
But that it's you and I like having a discussion versus me narrating an event that happened to me, I think is like, it's more interesting to do.
Well, it's certainly, as like, because I want things to film, and I'm asking you like, well, what are stories that you have? So it's going to be a vlog. So like, what happened to you today on the way to school? And you're like, I don't want to talk about it. It's kind of boring. I don't really want to. And I'm like, well, just do it and I'll film it. I don't care.
But it wasn't quite that antagonistic.
You're right. But that feeling of it comes across on camera that like you're not actually that interested in telling the story, at least in this kind of format.
It's not naturalistic.
Right, and we're not going to script it in a way that we're going to reenact it, because that just seems silly.
Yeah. But yeah, that we actually talk way more about what's happening in our lives.
Because even when you
on the podcast, but that's easier to do.
Even when you were blogging and in your comfortable form of writing and storytelling and reporting that you've been doing for years professionally, even in blogging, you're telling more stories. Right now, we're telling more stories about our life.
Yeah.
Particularly in China.
Yeah.
Than you did even in the blog.
Yeah.
So it does have a more natural sense of like, yeah, we're vlogging out the butt right now, having a podcast.